Once you have opened a document within Canvas, you have the options to download that document or to close that window. So we are going to close that window. We are back here at Files. We have just looked at the big picture calendar. Course image is simply the picture that is posted on the home page for this particular course. We'll take a look at optional test questions and unfiled items later. Right now, I'd like to draw your attention to our units. Unit 0 is the Nature of Science unit. These are all these things that as science teachers, we know and understand we must teach our students, but are not actually written out in our Alabama course of study. These things include the scientific method, lab safety, lab equipment, and graphing skills. When you open up a unit, you have several options in that unit. For instance, let's take a look at Unit 1. Notice we have a folder with checkpoint questions in it. Those checkpoint questions are excellent forms for formative assessment. Some of them are simple multiple choice questions, and some of them are claim evidence reasoning questions where students have to write out a response. You also have a folder with all of the labs and activities within that folder. And then there are several organizational documents. Let's start with Overview. Within the Overview, you have the name of the unit, the recommended time frame for that unit, the Alabama Course of Study objectives to be covered within the unit, as well as the next generation science standards included in that unit. And then the unit is broken down into topics, as you can see over here on the right. Each unit has a big idea. This is that big chunk of science that students need to understand from this unit, as well as the enduring understanding, which just basically explains exactly what that big idea is trying to describe. And then you have the science practices that are incorporated in this unit. Notice they start with verbs: argue, use, explain, compare and contrast. The next document we're going to take a look at is the Pacing and Recommended Activities document. You will have a brief paragraph that explains what students should already have available to them or need to complete this work. Notice again, color-coded, each topic to be taught is broken down, and the number of days required to teach this lesson. And then each of the activities and checkpoint questions is included. Basically, it is the lesson broken down for you by topic. Any links that you need, including videos or websites you will be visiting throughout this lesson, are included in this as well. And the task assessment. Notice at the bottom, we have an asterisk denoting any optional or alternative activities. The next document I would like to look at are the student notes. These are my favorite. They are in outline format, and each unit has areas where students are to interact with the notes, often graphic organizers, Venn diagrams, areas where they sketch items that they are observing. I personally print all of these off for every unit during the summer, and I make copies and bind them for my students. That is their science notebook. I leave a blank page in each unit for any extra notes they need to write down. They are actually very responsible with them, and very few lose them each year. I always copy a few extras for when that happens. The parents also love this because we don't use textbooks anymore. The last time my district bought science textbooks was 15 years ago. So this also stands for a reference for parents. I also have an electronic version on our Google Classroom that students have to reference. Notice how the notes are in outline format, and all essential vocabulary is in bold and underlined. Depending on the unit, will determine how many pages of student notes there are and how many note interactions there are. As you can see, these notes are very comprehensive. Another resource that we have for the students are student PowerPoint presentations. These are information based on the unit coming straight from the student notes that are more visual for your visual learners. These can be used by you as the teacher in the classroom to teach from, or added to an online platform such as Google Classroom as an extra resource for the students. You can see that these presentations use one of our Marzano strategies, chunking the information. It breaks things down into small, digestible pieces for the students, with minimal information on each slide for them to focus on. My favorite resource for myself are the Unit 1 teacher notes. The teacher notes are basically the teacher edition of the textbook. It gives you the unit name and the time frame that it should take to teach that unit. It gives you the background information. If you are like me and teaching for the first time, you feel as though you do not have all of the content information you need, this is an excellent resource. I am K6 certified and am currently teaching 7th and 8th grade science and have been for about 7 years now. But those first couple of years were scary for me because I felt like I didn't have the knowledge I needed to teach my students. These teacher notes take care of that. They also break down step by step exactly how to teach the unit. They tell you what to do in order, how many days it's going to take for each lesson, the resources you need. It tells you when to use the checkpoint questions and gives you the task assessment. These are also great for reference with substitute teachers. If you are going to be out, I have a couple of subs that I depend on in my classroom, and when one of them are going to be the ones standing in for me when I cannot be there, they can use these notes to pick up where I left off, and many times it's as if I never missed a day. I print the teacher's notes off, and I have a binder that I keep on my desk. I use these to plan from and to just help me keep on track day by day. Next, I'd like to look at the checkpoint questions. It is the first folder on the list. Checkpoint questions come in 3 formats. One format is claim, evidence, and reasoning. You probably recognize that terminology, and we'll be using that throughout the week. However, there is not a sample in Unit 1 to show you. Multiple choice questions. Many of these look very similar to what you would see on a standardized test. They have the question and usually a diagram, chart, or graph to go along with that question on the first page. And then on the second page, they have the answer key. This is important because in red, it tells you what the correct answer is. But then in blue, it gives you the distractor. The distractor is an answer that is close to being correct, but has one nitpicky thing that doesn't quite fit. This distractor will also show you the students' misconceptions that they may have about the content, so you can quickly fix that problem. And the other is synthesis type questions. This is your traditional open-ended response question. Again, you have the directions and the question. Notice this says describe the function of 2 of the following, which allows some student choice within there, which is another one of those Marzano strategies that we talk about. Giving students an option. So they have 3 items. They are asked to write about 2 of those. That gives them the opportunity to choose what they are confident with. And it gives you a rubric to score those. The folder I spend the most time in is the Labs and Activities folder. This folder includes all of the labs and activities within the curriculum. Some of them are in a PDF format, and some of them are in a document format, but all of them are downloadable. This one has teacher pages that step you through the process and give you sample answers for the questions, and then student pages. I have actually taken these labs that have teacher and student pages together, and I have used the print option and save as a PDF in order to break them apart. So I have a copy of just the student pages, separate from the teacher pages. So when we are going to do a lab in class, I can So when we are going to do a lab in class, I can upload just the student version to their Google Classroom, or print just the student version to make copies. We often have multiple optional activities within the folder as well. And every folder has a task assessment. In this particular instance, you have the task assessment and then the grading rubric to go with it. And last but certainly not least are the proficiency scales. This is an excellent document for your students. It gives the key terms, and it gives each of the topics in those wonderful I can statements that administrators love so much, which is a great reference for you when you have to put all of those things on your whiteboard for them to see when they come in. And then it has the proficiency levels broken down. Please reteach me. You're looking at a level 1. I need some help. Level 2, I can do this by myself. Level 3, and I can teach others. Level 4. There are all sorts of cute little emojis or posters to show different levels. Many theme-based that you can incorporate into your classroom, or just a simple 1, 2, 3, or 4. I often just do a quick formative assessment in my classroom by telling students to hold up a finger to show me where they are with today's content. Students appreciate the proficiency scales because they know what is expected of them. And this sheet is in a proper format so they can keep track of how they feel about the content without it being public and without it being a grade, so they can be completely honest with themselves and with you as the teacher.